everybody, it's Julie here. Thanks for joining me today for our project. We're doing a mixed media project and we're going to be using a variety of media. We're going to use some gelatos and some acrylic paints, and we're going to use some, well, there's my paint card, it's just an old Starbucks gift card, some Alphastickers, some Blvd. These are all Illustrated Faith products right here, some Tabbies and a designer clip. Again, Illustrated Faith and Bella Boulevard. I'll have them all linked in the description. My Illustrated Faith pen, a pencil, some cardstock, and I've already cut the cardstock down to size. This is going to be the interactive flap that we're going to use. Some adhesive and a baby wipe. What can we use a baby wipe for? We're going to use it for several things this time. So we're going to start by using the gelato. I'm using a Faber-Castell gelato in metallic blueberry. First, I think I'll underline the verse, and I just use my paint card. Again, I call it a paint card. It's just a gift card from Starbucks that one of my old students gave me. And then, I realized I'd underlined the wrong verse. I mean, it was a good verse that I underlined, but it wasn't the verse I wanted. So I moved it up. And what this does actually, the underlining helps me to see a mark on the page of how far up I can go with the paint and the gelato. So I'm going to cover up that other mark that I did. So I'm just scribbling with the gelato, with the blue first. Now I go in with the mint metallic. It's more of a green, a metallic mint. And I go in and just scribble over that. I'm going to do the same thing with that cardstock, because I want the cardstock just to blend in. Go back over it with the blue. And now you're going to see where the magic happens, because we're going to take a baby wipe, which is just slightly damp, and we're going to blend that in. Look at that beauty. I just love the effect. And this is going to be the water, the basis for the water of the sea that God parted for the Israelites when they were escaping the Egyptian army. Isn't that just gorgeous the way it blends? All from a baby wipe. Gelatos and baby wipe. Now the baby wipes, the wetness, the dampness of the baby wipe just activates the gelato, and so it blends. I'm drying this because we're going to paint over it. And you'll notice I flipped that over. We're going to use now some of the acrylic paint, and I'm using Artskills, which is just a set that I got from Michael's, and I wasn't wanting to do that with the baby wipe just yet. Here's what I'm going to do. I forgot the whole pencil technique, so I'm putting the blue, some white on the cardstock, and this is just going to be my mixing pad, my mixing place where I can mix some of the paint. I want to get a lighter blue. I want to keep the dark blue, and I want the white definitely. I'm also going to add some green to it because water has just those variety of colors. So I mix that in. Mix that. Mix, 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 mix. Get those colors blended. I'm just using a paintbrush to mix it. And now I take a pencil. And the reason why I'm using a pencil, and I'll tell you that in a minute, here is a trick. I'm using some adhesive and I'm tapping my finger on it to take off some of the stickiness, because I just want to have it a little bit sticky so it'll stay in place when I'm doing this. I don't want it moving all over the place. I will tape it down with some washi in a little bit. But now here's my pencil act. Here's what I'm doing. I take the back of a pencil and I just dot it with the paint. I pick up the blue first and I just dot it. I want various impressions. I want the light, I want the dark. So I just go through, and I'm going to speed this process up in just a minute for you. So you're going to see my hand flying. But this is going to be the water. So we have the background for the water, and now we're going to add just some of this acrylic paint to it. Here I go. Now I'm flying. So I'm going to take more of that color. I'm doing it with the blue, the green, some of the white. See, I'm just filling it up. I want to get a good bit of paint on here. Good bit. It's starting to look like water, isn't it? Now, here's where more magic happens. I take that baby wipe and blend it in, and oh my goodness, that turns out prettier than I thought it was going to. It really did a nice job giving it a water-looking effect. Gives it some texture. We're going to do the same thing underneath, but first we're going to take a Faber-Castell, and the color is Metallic Melon, and I blend that in just a little bit, and now I'm going to take some red and green acrylic paint to make brown and put that on there. Now I want to put a mat underneath my page, and I blend that in and then dry it. This is going to be the dry land that the sea, when the sea parted, it became dry because God's breath blew over it and dried the land. So the Israelites didn't have to walk in muck. Instead, they walked on dry land. And here I'm doing the waters where they were parted. So I want to go up higher, but I'm going to leave the middle empty. And I'm doing just the same exact thing on both sides. And I blend it again with the baby wipe, just some. I want some of that texture still there, so I don't do it hard, just a little bit. And I go back with white because I want some of that frothy, foamy look on the water. Okay, so now I use my heat gun and I heat it. And I had some plastic behind my page and it started melting with my heat gun. So I moved that away. Now I'm going to take that baby wipe and blend in the paint that I had used because I'm going to use that for another purpose in a few minutes. As soon as that dries, look at that beautiful mix of colors. Okay, so now we take the card and we're going to stick it on with some washi adhesive. And I'm using one of the sets, one of my new sets that I got from Illustrated Faith. And this is kind of a seafoam green, but it's a little bit translucent, so it blends right in. And I've got some left over from that strip, and so I put it on the other page with the color. I'm drawing some lines here for journaling. Isn't that card just cute how it flaps up? So I take that cellophane that I was melting, and I'm using that. Here's a tip. You can use this to help you know where to place your letters. So you just cut some little strips of plastic and put your letters on there, and you can move those around and make sure it's where you want it to be. So I'm using some of the tile letters and some of the black alphas. Now I'm taking that card that we blended the paint on, and I'm cutting out squares, and now I'm going to cut the letters. There's an A. I'm just using S-E-A for C. This is going to say the Lord divided the sea. I don't care if it's real neat. I want it to be kind of chunky looking. And now I'm using my black, and I want to say dried. And I realize I am all out of black E's. So I have to do a mix and match. So I alternate between the blue and the black there. And now I'm going to cut out the letters L-A-N-D for land. And I love how this brown, it actually looks a lot like the texture of land. It's just, part of it was already dry and thicker, and it's gorgeous the way it turned out. I can imagine God had a lot of fun as he was creating things because he knew what it was going to look like, but I'm sure he still just thoroughly enjoyed the process as he was creating things and seeing how they just came to fruition, and it just amazes me. God gives us the gift of creativity to experience part of his character. So this is coming together. The Lord divided the sea and dried the land. I'm using my blue gelato, and I'm just highlighting the verse a little bit. And I'm now writing in the words the, and to complete that title. I'm using my Illustrated Faith. This is my 6.5 pen. It's a little bit thicker, so it's a little bit darker. and I realized I wanted to move my letters some. One thing you'll notice in this page and this whole process is that you might do some things, you might think you made a mistake, or you might change some things, but you can always do that. There are ways to fix it. So with my tabs, I actually like to cut them in half so I can get more use out of them. And the word Fetty I've chosen says trust in Him, and then the other one it says prayers answered. But I realized I'd rather it just say trust instead of trust in Him. There's not enough room for all three of those. So I'm using the washi tape to anchor those pieces, and I have the designer clip up there. I'm using the rest of the washi tape to just randomly stick them here and there, and then I date stamp it. I'm going to fill this in. I write in Amen. I'm going to go off screen to do some journaling there. Okay, so I'm back. I've done my journaling, and I use a NeoColor watercolor crayon, and I just add a few little embellishments. I drew some little crosses in a turquoise color. And now I go back, I blended it with a watercolor, a travel water brush, and then I go back over it with my Illustrated Faith pen, and I want to add a few little things, miracle here, miracle there. And here's the final touch. I take the rest of that paper that we had blended the paint on, and I decided, again, made a change. I decided that I wanted to make a tabby out of that. So I take the trust off of there and put it on the tab that we made out of that beautiful color that we made, the paint, the mixed media, and now, what a beautiful page. It's an interactive page. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this process. I had a lot of fun. Leave a comment if you have a question, and I'll see you next time.